make me first ever sprue goo. This month's video is going to be very similar to last month's in that it'll be a bit jumping around. You will also see crossover to last month's video because the bases are still there unfinished. But I have now painted, or at least I've now base coated all of the armour and all of the black on my knights. My name is George or Fist. Welcome in, grab a cuppa or whatever you prefer to drink and let's chat Warhammer. Good cup of tea actually. Last month I showed you all how I completed my knights, armies, bases, and on reflection and playing with them a few times, I fucking love them. I think they're really nice. And I should mention an extra step that I didn't do in that video. On top of the snow paste by AK, I also added some of the army painter snow just on top with some PVA glue. But moving forward, I'm going to mix the army painter snow into the actual texture paste and then put it on, not only get the extra texture but also save us extra step. So in this video I'm going to show you the next few steps, how I get the Knights Battle Ready Plus. That essentially means I get to the point where I'm happy to play with it about 4 to 6 feet away, but I can also add to it and make it look nicer as I move forward with the army. As you saw right at the beginning, I started with leaving the undercarriage, the metal bits, the weapons, and the carapace, the armour, separate. I'm not one for usually, what's it called again? I'm not one for usually sub-assembly painting, but especially the Knights I thought it would make it way easier. And anything that was going to be undercarriage, weapons, whatever, I based them in matte black to begin with from the Colour Forge. And any of the carapace, armour, whatever you want to call it, I based that with the Hydrox brown from the Colour Forge as well. That brown, by the way, just side note, beautiful colour. You okay, Gloria? What are you doing? No, get away from the cat shit. You're not eating it. Come on. There we go. After they were done, it was time to tackle the undercarriage first, with them being based. Who else joining in? These, I wanted to be like a metal colour, but I wasn't really sure what metal colour I wanted to go with. I knew I didn't want your standard lead belcher, gunmetal-y type colour, but I also wasn't sure what I was going to do. Because at that point I was watching Pete the Wargamer on YouTube convert his Lancer Knight, and he used extreme metal by AK, and I really liked that metal. I thought the paint was absolutely gorgeous, so I went on a bit of a mission. I managed to convince Paul, the owner of D610, to put in an AK order. Whether that works out for him in the long run or not, I don't know. And I went for the purple, specifically the Extreme Metal AK Metallic Purple. The nice thing about this paint is, out of the bottle, it is ready for the airbrush. So I didn't have to do any extra steps, no mixing paints or anything that I've struggled to do with the airbrush before. I literally just take a pipette, take it out of here, put it in my airbrush cup and get spraying. Bit of a side note though, this did leave stains in my airbrush. I couldn't get them out of the cup. I haven't done a full disassembly or anything to try and get it out, but the stains are there. Airbrush cleaner isn't removing the stains, so I don't think any paint will remove the stains, so I don't think it's going to be an issue in the long run. It's just a note for you. So I popped this in my airbrush, I then sprayed the undercarriage bits and the weapon bits all in sub-assembly. It does need quite a heavy coat for the purple to shine through. You can get a metallic look really easy, but for the purple you need to spray quite a bit, but it does look amazing. This is the paint with 24 hours of drying time to go, fresh out the airbrush. It looks really fucking nice. Now that the purple's on there, it's time for another new product for me. The main thing that I was shitting myself using, and that is an oil wash. Now I've seen quite a few people use oil washes and it goes tits up. I've seen quite a few people use them and it goes really well. I was kind of hoping for the latter. Took AK Starship Filth and mixed it with the AK Odorless Thinner. When I was researching using oil paints, the odorless thinner was pointed out to be quite an important aspect. Odorless literally just means it doesn't burn your eyeballs, your nose, eyes. No, wait, I've already said eyes. Throat, all those other things you kind of don't want to burn. It means if you've got kids and pets, you can use it inside. So I recommend picking up odorless thinner if you are going to be using oil paints. So right at the beginning, before this, I started by mixing the odorless thinner with the oil paints. When I was looking online, there doesn't seem to be a right mixture, like 50-50 or anything like that. You more go off feel and how it looks. So I mixed it until I got a wash-like consistency. What I described that as is, I took the brush, put it against the side of the pot I was mixing it in. When I took the brush away, most of it flowed away, but some stayed behind on the side. That consistency seemed to work for me. I then took like a throwaway brush, something that I'm not asked if it gets damaged or hurt or anything like that. And then I painted that all over the undercarriage and weapons, everything like that. On this journey, this is kind of where things started to go tits up. I mean, looking back now, it didn't really go tits up. It just was, I was a bit flustered, overwhelmed, panicky, and this did not help. Everything started falling apart, literally at the waist. The lights would pop apart, one leg split in two, the hips come loose. I'm still having issues with them now, and everything just felt really overwhelming. I left it an hour, I came back. I then took the finest pound shop, well actually it was Savers, makeup sponge I could find, soaked it in the odorless thinner, and started to rub away the oil wash from the higher surfaces. Again, this was really stressful, felt like it was going everywhere and like everything I'd done was wrong and I'd made a mistake. But I do think that was because I was doing a stupid amount of quantity of bottles. So obviously doing 4 armigers in one big night at the same time, it just piled the stress on. Once I'd wiped everything off the high surfaces, I stuck everything back together, walked away for 24 hours, and then came back and it was fully dry. Still having issues with them falling apart, but this is why I'm making sprue goo. Hopefully that is going to fix it. Now comes the daunting task of painting the camo style thing I want from the army. So I have 3 greens from the army painter. I have Eternal Hunt, Green Skin, and Guardian Green. And for a brown, I have Duncan Roads 2 Thin Coats Gizmo Fur, plenty of pack material, and a trial shield. As you just saw there, I have 3 paints I'm using for the camo. 4 technically, 3 green paints, I suppose. Just a little bit of a tangent as well. I went and had a look at what the shield is. It's called a Tilton Shield. A Tilton Shield was used in jousting, in medieval times. Put a shield here so that as you were riding towards each other, you didn't accidentally go into the armpit and stab through and basically, medieval times, no medical stuff, kill someone. So they put the Tilton Shield there so that when it would hit, the shield would move a little bit and the joust would slide off onto the arm and or off the joust. The person being jousted completely. I wanted to find out. So now for this armour, you'll probably see clips from the Tilton Shield and you'll probably see clips from the actual armour panels themselves. And I'm using the sponge method. I was going through Instagram before I started my Knights Army, and this is where I kind of got the idea, and I took inspiration from Mamacon. I'll link his Instagram in the description to the exact post where I took the inspiration from. So this involved literally ripping up some packing foam. You can use sponges, I used packing foam, and then I would dab it into the paint on my dry palette and then dab it around until the sponge was just leaving a little bit behind, and then dab that onto the armour panel / Tilton Shield. You want it to be a little bit of a drier consistency. It's more like a mix between dry brushing and sponging than other methods. That's just the way I found it to work. I started with Guardian Green. That was the first paint I dabbed on. I made sure not to fully cover the brown undercoat and left plenty of like gaps in between. And then green skin, same before that. Try not to cover everything. Leave behind some of the green, leave behind some of the dark browns. Then finally I did the same with Eternal Hunt. Make sure not to cover all the previous green, make sure not to cover all the dark brown undercoat. Once I'd done all the greens, I then came in with Gizmo Fur and did exactly the same sponging method, except from a little bit lighter. I didn't want as much brown in there because we already had the dark brown undercoat. I only wanted a little bit light brown just to add a bit of contrast and to make it pop just a little bit more and not from a distance just look like a flat surface of green. After doing the Gizmo Fur, I wasn't too happy. It looked really flat. So that's when I came in to try and make it not look as two-dimensional. I came in and repeated the process, except from at the end, I left Gizmo Green. At the end, I left Gizmo Fur. I didn't do a second coat of that, but I've done a second coat of all the other greens in exactly the same order. Obviously, you've seen me do the panels with the sponging method, so they're not quite done yet, but they are already looking fire, if I do say so myself. Wow, that was a lot of sponging and a bit stippling, but I do love the way it looks. Obviously, there'll be B-roll later on, but it is really nice, and I do really like it. Now, I'm going to stick the panels on before I do any of the trim. Well, it is now time to paint the trim. As you can see, it is now time to paint the trim. He's looking beautiful, but me being me, I want to paint it Doom Death Black from the Army Painter range. I have bought 2 paints so far of the Doom Death Black and lost every single one of them. I'm going to D6 tomorrow. I'll buy some more and we'll do the trim next week. Me and this paint are at war with each other. I can't believe I had to buy this paint 3 times. Paul, a D6, obviously. beneficial that I had to buy 3 times, but I had to buy this paint 3 times as I kept losing it. I've never lost a paint before, don't know where the other 2 are, they are just gone. Speaking of this paint, this is when I then moved on to painting the trim. Everyone told us paint and trim is horrible, I wouldn't enjoy it, it was going to take ages, etc, etc, etc. I didn't actually mind it too much, to be fair. I just put my big night down, sat over a couple of hours with a few YouTube videos on, made sure that I wasn't going over anything, nice and accurate, 2 thin coats, it was fine. It didn't take that long really. And then once I had painted the trim, I moved on to the other bits of the carapace or armour. That's the likes of the ladder, the safety rails, the little nubbiny bits, any like antenna-y bits, anything like that. And I did them in 2 coats of death metal as well. Also, just want to jump in and say how much I love this colour. Originally, I thought it was going to be like a really black metal, even though looking at the pot and the label, it's clearly not a black metal. The really dark, bronzy metal that comes out is, I think it frames the green so nice and has actually worked out really well. I have played a few games with my knights now, and the issue of, not really an issue, the paint is fragile because obviously it went on partly dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to matte varnish it. Now hopefully it's going to do a couple of things. Firstly, I'm hoping it's going to not only just seal the paint in, but seal any of the snow and etc on the base. And secondly, I'm hoping it also sort of frosts the resin, so it makes the icy base look even better. Gloria is currently warming up the can of matte varnish, and then I'm going to go out and spray it. Now that the trim, the armour, the undercarriage is all sorted and done, this is where I then whipped out matte varnish from Colourforge. Using the matte varnish was no bother. If anyone curious of how to use this, 2 coats done 30 minutes apart, same as everything. I do have a short form video about base and miniatures on YouTube Shorts, TikTok and Instagram if you'd like to have a look, and that's exactly the method I used. I love the frosted effect. It's kind of give the resin ice. It makes it look more like ice, which is nice. I'm a poet and I don't even know it. And finally, this is then where we are pausing the painting for now. This is a level that if I get the whole army to, I'm going to be very happy with. I would say it's the Battle Ready Plus. It's not quite Battle Ready, it's a little bit beyond, but there's loads of things I can do to improve it, but I can do that at my own pace because I have 2,000 points at a really decent standard level. The matte sealant will help protect the sponging because it does go on dry, it's a little bit flaky, so that'll keep the sponging safe. And it also then means I get the added benefit of whenever I come in and do the tubing, the lenses, all those bits and pieces, they will look a bit glossy, they'll stand out, and it'll just look a little bit different on the miniature. Weather and effect, all those other things, they're going to really stand out over the matte varnished paints. Thank you everyone for watching. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Like I said in the last video, I'm not trying to make this my job. It's just a bit of a hobby I like doing. Finally, here it is, my Battle Ready Plus Knights. Let's continue to hobby together.